Hello. Thanks for tuning in. This is Dr. B. Let's get to it.
Certainly you're not supposed to disagree with anything. You go along with what I say, or you will be punished. There will be a price to pay. That squelches communication, right? Trust. And remember, what our families were supposed to do for us and what we're supposed to do for our families is to be prepared and prepare our kids for life. Well, how can you be prepared if you don't get any practice making decisions? You're not going to be very prepared, are you? And we all hear those stories almost every year. You know, this good Christian kid went off to college, right? And horrible things happened. And then we find out, if we look deeper, they came from that kind of thing. You know, we got all these rules, you do it my way, and they didn't know how to make choices. They didn't know how to make decisions. And they did lots of stupid stuff when they finally got free. All right, I gotta watch, make sure. Actually, I'm doing okay. All right. Alcohol and drugs. I wear I've never shared this before, I'll share it here. I wear a coin that was minted in 1911 around my neck, and I've worn it probably 15 or more years now, I think, something like that. And what it is a constant reminder of me, of who a man can be. It sounds funny, but who a man can be and choices that we can make to be the man we can be. Because it's dated 1911, and two men were born on that day, on that year. One of them I knew, one of them I didn't. One of them was my grandfather, who grew up to be the town drunk, and the other was Ronald Reagan, who grew up to be President of the United States. And so it's a constant reminder of me that I'm making choices, and I can be what God wants me to be if. I don't know if I want to talk about that. All right, values in general. Any questions about it? We can talk about the damage he did to his family, the damage he did to my mother, which then translated into the way she raised her children. Pretty bad.
Sounds like my uncle.
Pretty bad.
When my grandfather passed away, he buried himself in a bottle for the next 2 years.
Did he?
I haven't spoken to him but twice since, and the last time I spoke to him, I told him I never wanted to see him again.
Yeah, I could give you lots of nasty examples. I'll just give you one simple one that isn't nearly all that bad, but they never had Christmas. They never experienced Christmas, and then they always wondered why were they so bad that Santa Claus didn't come.
Wow.
So when I was being raised, and my siblings, I had brother and sister, were being raised, we never were taught that there was a Santa Claus. I never remember believing that there was a Santa Claus.
But you always had Christmas.
We always had a great Christmas. Mom always saw to that we always had a great Christmas. But that concept was gone because of the pain she experienced. See?
And she was even born on Christmas.
That
That's
was also
sad.
her birthday. It's her birthday.
I was always taught at Christmas, it's family.
Yeah.
So you got at Christmas.
I got one gift my entire life from my grandfather. It was one of those 5 and dime books with a deer on the front. I still remember it because it's the only thing I ever got from him. Probably cost 75 cents. It's the only thing I ever got from him. Values. Again, they teach us what's right and what's wrong. Let's remember, we as children, and our children too, we watched what our parents did, much more so than we listened to what they said. You know, it's one thing to be told, don't steal, be honest, and then we see them stealing the paper from the neighbors on Sunday morning, right? talking about how they gave it to the IRS last year, right? Okay. That's the stuff that registers, folks. That's the stuff that registers. It teaches us values. ultimately, that second question is there. You know, we've got to decide what is really of value for us personally, for our families, and sometimes that means casting aside the family that we came from and the values that they taught because they were simply wrong. You know, what was okay, what wasn't okay, what's hurtful, what's painful, what's, we'll twist even good things so that they're bad. And that includes a sense of values, you know?
But isn't that the most important thing?
Say, go ahead.
Like everything that we have differences about, I guess we talked about it last week, doesn't that all stem from your individual value systems?
Yeah, so much of it does, yeah. Our individual value, of course, our personalities are also our personal experiences as well, and gifts and abilities we throw in there. But probably the biggest chunk, yeah, is our sense of values, and to a great extent, that's what we carry over from that family of origin, yeah. Sense of values. What's okay, what's not, because that, I assume, is going to dictate what I do.
Yes,
Right.
and what's important and what's not.
Yeah, yeah. So if it's important to be honest, well, then I'm not going to steal the neighbor's Sunday paper, right? And I'm not going to brag about what I did to the IRS. You know?
One thing I don't understand, why is that some people, although they grew up in a dysfunctional family,
Mhm.
why is that they realize when they reach a certain age, they realize what was wrong, and they don't choose to replace that negative part
Yeah.
by something else? Is it because it's hard to do, or what's the problem?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. Because it doesn't seem logical, does it? Because people can grow up in a dysfunctional family. And I've talked to many people that say, you know, the last thing I wanted to do was be like dad, or the last thing I wanted to do was be like mom, or the last thing I wanted to do was raise my family like, and then they're doing it. So logically, it doesn't seem to make sense. But here's what I tend to believe. It's that principle we were talking about a few minutes ago where the family play is going on for all those years. And you watch it over and over and over again, and it's like the mind and behavior almost goes on automatic because you just do what the family did because you saw it 50,000 times. To change, and this is the second part of what you were saying, to change takes a lot of effort. And it not only takes me acknowledging something's wrong that needs to be fixed, but I got to put the time and energy into fixing it. And unfortunately, in my experience, there are many, if not most people who are not willing to do that. So we've seen them repeat history because it's hard. It's easier to just go on automatic pilot and kind of do my thing because I don't have to think, I kind of do it. Even we become what I call comfortable with what's common, even if it isn't functional, even if it's to a certain degree painful, there's comfort in just kind of going through the same habits. To change, though, takes an awful lot of effort. And like I said, a lot of people aren't willing
Maybe
to do
by
It
just-
hasn't been easy for me to change.
Okay.
The way I'm doing it.
Well,
Maybe just saying it is not enough. They have to have maybe a different picture, different role model to reprogram their mind. Because there are many things I didn't have growing up.
Right.
I didn't have my mom around. I had my stepmom, but she wasn't in my life by the time I was maybe 9 or 10. So the rest of my age, I just grow up. But there are things. I'm not saying I'm perfect, but for some reason God always put different people around me. And I don't choose, I choose, how can I say that? For me to be who I am, I didn't choose one person as my role model. I use different people. God put different
Yeah.
people in my life.
Yeah.
And all of those people, I choose something good about them. And whatever is bad, I leave it alone. Because I know there are things I didn't have. For example, as like growing up with my mom. But every now and then I will miss having a mother. But it's fine. And I say, God will put somebody. God will make it up to me. So what I do, I always look at people he put around me. Why is that person in my life? And I pick whatever is that person is, what's good in that person, what I don't have, and I move on.
Yeah.
And I go to the next person. Maybe that's what
Yeah,
makes
that's
me
a
who I
good
am.
attitude.
I don't know.
Very healthy.
That's a healthy attitude.
And
to
that's what
have.
my husband doesn't get
Yeah.
me sometimes. It's like
Yeah.
I have to use different people because
Right.
not one
Kind of fill
person,
those gaps.
not one person can really build me up. No, seriously,
Right.
growing up without a mom, it's a big deal to me.
Yeah.
There are many things you don't know.
Yeah.
Advice, how to run a house.
Yep.
So therefore, I cannot use one person
Mm-hmm.
because that person might have other issues. I don't want that other issue. I want
Right.
one thing
So you
or
can look
couple
at
of
good
stuff
and take
from
the
that
good.
person, and then I move on to the next
Yeah.
person. Because I always think God knows what I'm feeling, and
Mm-hmm.
He's not gonna come and raise me or be act like a mom to me,
Right.
but He's gonna send people.
Yeah.
So I make sure I use those people to
That's,
help me grow
I think that's
up.
good. I do think that's healthy. I think that two things come to mind. One is, of course, that's a lot to be thankful for. You know, that God would bring those people into your life. The other part, though, is you did something differently than a lot of people do. And what you did differently was you didn't just sit down and feel sorry for yourself, because that's what a lot of people do in those kind of situations. Why did this happen to me? Why don't I have a father? Why don't I have a mother? Why did this horrible thing happen to my family? And they get consumed with that rather than thinking about, I need to move on. Where can I go from here? So they get stuck. So you did something very, not I think courageous, but also something very healthy at the same time.
And what I see, like, we tend to repeat the same things. Like, you have your siblings' pressure also.
Yeah.
Like, we all grew up like this, you know. He or she, they have their families, and then you know how we talk, and then you tell you, oh no, you can't, remember? And then you know what, that's the way we, you know.
Yes.
And you don't want to be an outcast, you know, because I love my brother, I love my sisters, you know.
Right.
And you know, we tend to say, okay, let's just, you know.
No, that is another factor. That is another factor that causes pressure. And I guess, I tell you, here's another way I think about it. Let's say, and the truth of the matter is, we all come from a certain amount of dysfunction, because there are no perfect families. Even in the healthiest of families, there's a little bit of
Something we don't
dysfunction
know.
that's there. You know, because we're people and we're flawed, and our parents are people and they're flawed. One way I tend to think about it is this way. Let's say our family's pretty dysfunctional, and it's kind of like they've learned to dance a certain dance, you know, to sway a certain way, to move a certain way. And then, you know, I realize, you know, that's not so healthy. You know, the dance they're dancing ain't so great after all. So I'm going to start to dance a different dance. Well, you got them dancing their dance, you're dancing your dance, and of course they're going to point to you and say there's something weird about you, even if you're doing the healthy thing.
Yes.
And guess what? You can't dance together anymore because you're dancing completely different dances. You know? And the other thing is, sometimes these dysfunctions are so deep, you can't reason with some of the, whether we're talking about siblings or parents or aunts and uncles, you can't reason them out of it, even if you've got all the good reasons. Because they're invested in the status quo, and change takes a lot of effort and energy. A lot of people just don't want to do it.
I've actually found myself, with all the changes that I've made,
Yeah.
I still revert back from time to time.
Because again, we learn those lessons, and we'll go in automatic pilot and we'll slide back. We should expect that's going to happen. The question is, when we do that, are we able to catch ourselves before we go too far with it?
I usually catch myself right after, and then I go back and make up for it.
Okay, then you do damage control.
Yeah.
But yeah, you apologize and fix it the best you can.
So you're gonna
And what we hope happens, of course, as we do that more and more, we catch ourselves earlier and earlier, so we don't have to go back and do damage control as often. Let me mention a couple things real quick. Obviously, you know, our view of God is a big part of our values and also what our families teach us. And unfortunately, a lot of people, especially in America today, grow up and there's not a true sense of faith in God and who God truly is. And that's one of the reasons why our nation's in the state it's in my opinion. So there's attitudes toward God, faith, spirituality. And I'm talking about spirituality, I'm not talking about religion. Because I got lots of problems with religion. Okay? Be about. God is there to direct us, right? Give us a roadmap to how to live our lives and provide principles for healthy living. And that's, of course, what a father is. We're supposed to be. And, of course, these are the fundamentals of dysfunction. Don't think, don't feel, don't tell, don't rock the boat. Because if you rock the boat, you're just being selfish. Our conclusion, again, no one grew up in a perfect family. Not everyone was subject to severe family dysfunction, but there's still got to be a little dysfunction because we're all flawed. Dysfunction obviously touches the lives of those it touches, if it's big dysfunction, it touches in a big way, unless we kind of work our way out of it, heal our way out of it. Finally, there are two general reactions to family dysfunction that most people have, and this goes to what we were talking about a few minutes ago. A lot of people, what they'll do is they'll simply repeat history, because again, it's automatic pilot. I mean, it just happens automatically. Other people will go in the opposite direction, where it's like they are so hurt, so angered by the things they experienced, that they're not going to have anything to do with that. You know, we didn't have any alcohol in my house the whole time I grew up. Not a beer, not a nothing. Okay, I don't even think we had.
Not a card,
Not a card.
playing cards, nothing.
No playing
that could
cards.
be associated.
They're hands of Satan. But that's what often happens. People suffer dysfunction. They will swing, the pendulum will swing to one extreme or the other. And unfortunately, often, I'm not talking about drinking in particular, but it needs to be somewhere in between. All right, any thoughts or questions before we close? Okay, tell me where you at.